This one will not be very complicated. It's very easy, but it's just by far one of the most overlooked processes. Like, I'm a firm believer in standard operating procedures. The reason that this came about and the reason that we got so intentional with showing process is because we all work our asses off. However we generate leads, whether you're buying leads, whether you have the lead portal partnerships, whether you do open houses or geographic farming, whatever we do to generate leads, we know how much money it costs, two, how much work we have to put in. And then we finally get somebody to set an appointment with us after all the work. And sometimes you've nurtured these leads for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You finally set an appointment, and then you show up with your black and white MLS sheet with no preparation, not having any understanding of the area. Most of the time, the client knows more than the agents do. And I don't get why we don't slow down, because we spend so much time and effort and money and time away from your kids and your family creating these opportunities, that when we actually are given the audition, you guys hear me say it a lot, you guys show up like Vanna White talking about, here's the kitchen and here's the bathroom, and oh my gosh, look at the beautiful view and look at the upgrades. And while that's necessary, of course, for us to call things out and to point out positives about the property, it really doesn't do anything to build rapport. It doesn't do anything to magnify yourselves to your clients so that they want to meet with you again. And the reason that we learned and stumbled upon this being such an important process is, as I started scaling out of production, we started tracking everything that's very important. And the things that we track are the amount of conversations you have to set an appointment, the amount of appointments you have to set to meet with somebody, the amount of people you have to meet. And this is by far the most important metric, that if you guys don't listen to anything I tell you, the most important metric for you to start tracking is that when you meet with somebody, how many of those people choose to meet with you again? Because it's like dating. If you go on a whole bunch of dates and everybody ghosts you after that date, it's probably safe to assume that you're saying something weird, you're not presenting the best way, you're probably coming off creep, you're doing something that's not making these people want to see you again. And guys, in our industry, we don't have an industry to where people have to respond to us. They ghost us. And then most agents will be like, well, the lead sucked, or they weren't serious, or they were tire kickers. And it's like, well, is that true? Or did you not give them a reason to want to use you? Or did you not compare well against another agent who maybe they met with the day prior? And where we really learned that this was important is I would have agents who we script and we role play and we objection handle. And I can get most of our agents paralleled on the amount of conversations that they have to set an appointment, because we follow a standard operating procedure. And then how many appointments we have to set to meet with somebody, because there's a standard operating procedure. But where we lost any and all visibility is, once that appointment is set, what are they doing? What are they saying? How are they showing up? How are they presenting? What are the questions that they're asking? Are they doing anything to magnify themselves? Are they showing up like the Vanna White realtors that I'm 100% certain will not thrive in this market? And what we learned is we had to create a standard operating procedure. And that standard operating procedure goes from how you set the appointments, how you confirm the appointments, when you show up to the appointment, how you build rapport with people and the way that you intentionally do that, how you're going to establish trust, and how you're going to put yourself in the position to be the person that they want to work with after that 5 to 7 minute audition. And it's like, it's funny because I hear people all the time, I know how to show houses. Okay. I just see all these agents showing up with a black and white MLS sheet, doing nothing other than chasing a client around a property, not asking any questions that are going to help uncover true motivations. And it's like, today, by a show of hands, how many of you guys have clients that are scared right now of this new market? And how many of them are being wishy-washy? And 1 minute they're crazy serious, and then the next minute they're pulling back. And it's like, guys, there's consumers right now who are fearful, and they have every reason in the world to be. But we need to make sure that we are identifying pain points and that we're asking great questions. And I'm actually going to, because I'm so sick of hearing coaches and people talk about ask better questions, and then they don't tell you what better questions are. Like, what are the better questions that we're supposed to be asking? So I'm going to take you all the way back to, you've already done your job. You've already done the role playing. You've already done the objection handling. You've nurtured them to an appointment. And it's like, how do you get people to show up? So number one, when you guys set an appointment, you're crazy if you're not setting a calendar invite. This is a very simple skill. And you guys are going to learn that half of this stuff. I promise you, none of it's going to be rocket science. You're not going to think I'm a genius for any of it. It's just a consistent series of tiny little adjustments in your processes that are going to create a better result for you. And it's like a calendar invite will increase the show up rate by 12%. My office, they make fun of me and they laugh at me because I have the worst barber in the world. They screw up my haircut every single time, but I'm a creature of convenience. And I love just being able to walk straight from the gym, straight from my house. Everything's within a quarter mile of each other. And he does the one thing I need him to do to get me to show up to my appointment. He sends me a calendar invite. Because when I have a calendar invite, it ends up on my calendar and I remember I got to go. But when people don't send me calendar invites, I'm a busy person. I forget and I don't pay attention to it. And I'm constantly missing my appointments. So simply adding a calendar invite will increase the show up rate by 12%. So if you meet with 100 people in a year and you add a calendar invite, by a show of hands, how many of you think you can sell more houses if you got to face with an extra 12 people? But by not sending the calendar invite, we'll be like, well, they were flakes or there were no shows. Yeah, but there was a standard operating procedure that is guaranteed to get an extra 12% of people to show up. So take that extra step. And then I see it all the time. People are like, well, I did the calendar invite, but then they forget to put the client's email into it. It's like, no, you added an appointment to your calendar. You didn't put it on their calendar. So you have to make sure that you're putting it on theirs. So you got them to show up. You've gotten face-to-face with them. And now what? And guys, this is by far the one thing, and I get it. I know we get busy and this cannot work each and every time, but how many times you walk into a property and you're walking into that property at the first time with the client? So when they ask you like, hey, is there a bedroom downstairs? You're like, and then you start running around the house and you're trying to find out, is there, like, you don't know anything about the property. And the entire point when we're on this 5 to 7 minute audition, sometimes 10, sometimes 12, but when you're there, you should take every single step to make sure that you have the answers to their questions. You should know more about the property in the area and the schools and the comps. You should know more about this property than them. But half agents don't even show up, even knowing what the value of the property is, because I guarantee you 90% of agents, when they get asked, hey, what do you think the value of this home is? And it's an acceptable answer that agents will pat yourself on the back for, because you're like, well, I'll go ahead and I'll pull the comps when I get back to the office. You set the appointment yesterday. Why didn't you already have this information readily available to show me and present to me today? It's like you have to know the product that you're talking about. Because in addition to that, the reason that you want to know the comps is you'll also know what homes are also available. And you should be going into every single appointment. And I'll walk you guys through the step to step. This is kind of sporadic right now. But you should be able to answer questions about the schools. You should be able to go in depth about the values of the neighborhood. Say there's a great park very close by, and it's like, well, what if I don't know the area? Call the listing agent and talk to the listing agent and say, hey, what are some features of this property that my client should absolutely know about? Like, what are some of the things that made your client fall in love with it? Why do you think this is a great property? What are some of the features that we should know? And then you can ask other questions. And again, whether you do this or not, it's completely on you. But for me, like, guys, if you buy Zillow leads, Zillow leads are anywhere in my market, $1,400 to $2,200 for a single connection. Or you do open houses and you're spending 4 hours on a Saturday away from your friends and your family. It's like, we're all investing either time or money. Let's make sure that the time and the money is being spent in a way that's going to give you the best possible return. And slowing down on the front end to make sure that we have everything available to us to present to a client to create a powerful moment. I think we can all agree that we're going to get an exceptionally better result when we can be prepared and have an answer, and even better yet, an articulate answer that's going to be like, wow, this person knows what they're doing. Marcy, when I asked her about the comps, she knew what the value of the home was. She knew what other homes were available in the neighborhood. And then she was even so exceptional that she even assumed that I would want to see them and tentatively set appointments for the other properties there in the neighborhood, and decided to show me 2 to 3 properties instead of just showing me the one. And anybody who focuses anything on lead conversion will tell you, if you can get a client to look at 2 properties with you on the first appointment, the likelihood of getting that person to connect with you and the likelihood of getting that person to use you is through the roof in comparison to somebody that you just show 1 property to. So the process that I'm going to lay out for you guys is designed to create the secondary appointment on the first appointment. I'm going to talk to you about the questions that we should be asking. And the reality of this is, so I'll kind of go back. We've got everything set up. we skip one of the most important parts and we go straight into presentation mode and we go straight into showing their property. And even if you do it the perfect way, and again, some of you guys might be doing stuff that's better. And if you do, please speak up. We can all learn from it. But what we've learned is we have a process that is very, very likely to create at least 45% of our leads to set the second appointment on the first appointment. And the reason you want to track that is you can figure out what am I doing that works and what am I doing that doesn't. Because guys, one thing that I have learned, my gut feeling and what I think is working is almost wrong every freaking time. But when I'm looking at the data and I'm looking at the statistics and I'm seeing, okay, here's our process, here's what we're doing. And now I'm seeing an increase in secondary appointment. Okay, I should keep running plays that work. And then when I do this and I use this approach, now all of a sudden I see a downward trend in my secondary confirmations. So when you track this stuff, you have the ability to say, is what I'm doing working? And the thing about tracking, and I use Sisu, that's the system that we use for all this. CTE is a really, I don't care how you track, you can do it on a spreadsheet, but you got to be tracking, because when you track, you have the ability to know whether you're improving or you're declining. So when we do this, that you can follow the perfect steps, but skip the most important, and it's the rapport building. And rapport building is so incredibly easy. And like when you go on a first date, you don't know what your mutual interests are. You don't know whether they like sports. You don't know whether you don't know what they like. So do a little research. The great news is that you can't get people to shut up on social media. All you got to do is look up their Instagram, look up their LinkedIn, look up their Facebooks, do a little research. And again, this sounds like I've had people tell me, well, that's just gross, it's fake. No, it's not. Me finding out what your interests are and then organically being able to work that into a common interest so I can create a mutual interest between the two of us. Booney is one of the best at this. Booney's our director of sales. His name's Brian. He plays golf and he surfs. And he's also a dad. Like, he's got all types of interests that he has. He's a boater. Like, he can connect with a lot of people, especially the ones who are boaters, especially who are the ones that play golf, and especially the ones that surf. And Booney will constantly tell me, he's like, hey man, can't be into the office today because I've got an appointment with a client. And then I see him on Instagram surfing. I'm like, oh, nice appointment. Dude, my client was a surfer. We connected and he has surfing dates with his clients. Or he goes golfing and he's playing golf with his clients. The minute you can create the mutual interest, the relationship and the rapport that's built is automatically going to be 10 times better than those who put zero effort into creating it. So take 5 to 10 minutes, do a little research. And I wish I knew, and there's a bunch of realtors on here and somebody might be able to shout it out. There was an app that Tom Ferry used to constantly push, and I can't find it anywhere. We used to use it. I forgot what it was, but it was an app where you typed in the client's name, you typed in their email address and their phone number, and it did all the research for you. Does anybody remember what that was? Cool. So this is going to be totally useless and I'm not going to be able to provide any tools that are going to help you. So just do a little Googling and you guys will be able to find this. But again, we want to be able to organically work it in. So if I'm talking about golf, it's like they use the acronyms for rapport building. Forewarn, yeah, that's a super good one. It tells you if they're a criminal and if you need to be scared of them. But I don't think it tells you if they play golf or if they're surfers or anything like that. Anyway, so the acronym for FORD, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Like, we want to talk to people about family and we want to talk to people about their occupation and we want to talk about what people do for fun and we want to know what it is that they're aiming to achieve. So FORD is the acronym that you use, and you got to be careful because when you ask people questions about family, you can put your foot in your mouth very firmly. And it's like, oh, so is your wife going to be joining us? No, but my husband is. Foot in your mouth. Is your wife going to be joining us? No, unfortunately, she passed away last year. It's like, you can't assume anything. And we've done it, and it's heartbreaking and it's sad, and it completely grinds the momentum of the conversation to a halt. So you can ask, help me better understand who's all going to be affected by the move. Help me better understand who's all going to be making the move with you. Because then you can get the answers to the questions that you're looking for without risking or putting yourself at risk of putting your foot in your mouth, saying something that's going to bring up a horrible topic. My lead conversion coach has a conversation about this. They were laughing about D for dreams is what the D is for. And my lead conversion coach told this heartbreaking story, and the conversation was going great, and they were kind of laughing. And he said, so what's got you, I forget exactly how I put it, but what's making you move? This father, he got in his truck, he put it in reverse, and he ran over and killed his son. And it was just like, it was a conversation that was so abruptly paused, and it created such an uncomfortable moment. My lead conversion coach is exceptional about how you would transition that conversation, because that's a really difficult conversation to transition from. And he said, oh my gosh, he goes, Christian, thank you for trusting me with that. I can only imagine what type of transition, what type of process this is for you. I imagine it's an emotional one, and just know I'm here to support you through it. He didn't say, oh, I'm so sorry, what everybody else says. Like, he transitioned from it brilliantly, but he said, I never once asked a question that put me at risk of putting my foot that firmly in my mouth. Because, oh my God, I almost, like, he's a dad. He almost was tearing up as he told this story, because it was heartbreaking. So we got to be careful with how we're building rapport with people. But some of the basics, and if you've ever read the book, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's a really fantastic, easy book for you to read to make people like you. And some of the basic rules is you want to be interested in other people. And I hear with realtors, when they do this all the time, I'm like, oh, I have a kid. Oh my God, I have kids too. They're 16 and 15. And it's like, okay, yeah, you are starting to open up the lines of communication, but now you're making it about you. You're not making it about the client. And you really, really got to be conscious of this to make everything about the client. So if they say they have kids, yeah, you can totally connect with that and say, I'm a parent too. My kids are da-da-da-da. How old are yours? What schools do they go to? What sports do the kids play? What's their recreation? Always point the conversation back to them, because the one thing you'll notice really quickly in our business, people love talking about themselves, especially realtors. Clients don't like talking about you, the realtor. They like talking about themselves, what they're running from, what they're running towards. And we got to get really good about asking good questions. So we are always interested in people who are interested in us. We love people who admire us. We love people who pay us compliments. We love when your smile is complimented, or the shoes that you take pride in, or the outfit, or the truck that they were so clearly taking pride in. There's just a million things for you to genuinely be able to compliment somebody. Don't miss the opportunity to build rapport by paying somebody a compliment. Number 2, smiling. I met somebody yesterday and we walked into the office. This person did not smile the entire day. Wasn't mean, but the entire time there was this huge discomfort because the person did not reciprocate the smile. And a smile is one of the most warming, you gotta be careful with it, some of them are creepy, but it's one of the most warming, nice, kind ways for you to be able to create like a warming environment. So making sure that we actually smile with people. 2, being a really good listener, because we'll pretend that we're listening. And I love doing this. And sorry, I know some of my team's on here, but I'll see them kind of doing the yeah. And I can tell that they're totally not listening. They're just giving me the acknowledgements to shut me up. So I'll pause, stop, lean in, and be like, what'd I just say? And you'll see him pause and like, it's like, dude, we've been sitting here having this, what did I just say? What did we just talk about? Dude, we all do it. We're all guilty of this. And we go on autopilot, or we ask a question and we're so focused on the next question that we're going to ask that we're not even retaining the information that's being told to us. So when we talk about being a good listener and encouraging other people to talk about themselves, having great conversation and being a good conversationalist requires you to genuinely listen. And if all you're doing in response is the oh yeah, wow, that's great, those are not going to be great conversation starters for you. But when you can start saying, well, you start talking about the relation, well, how'd you guys meet? And you start making it about them, and you talk about how they met, and then you'll always see either the husband or the wife, one of the two, or maybe both, like, oh, well, he met back in high school, and you start going into the conversation, where are you guys from? And then the conversation goes deeper, and like, well, she's from Ohio and I'm from Nebraska. What brought you guys all the way to Orange County? Well, we've got a job. What do you do for work? How long have you been there? How important is locality to your place of where you work? What do you guys do for fun? What's your recreation? And it just allows you to peel the onion back and find out more information that's going to allow you to nurture people much longer. Because if you skip this whole step, and I'm going to tell you a trick to make it better, but if you skip this whole step, now you're walking into the house being sorry for the way I talk, but the assholes who are like, oh, well, I'm the best realtor in the world and I sell the most amount of houses and look how beautiful this is and look how great I am. And it's like, yeah, let's get out of here as fast as humanly possible. And what percentage of your leads are going to convert on your very first appointment? Not many. It's very rare that any of us sell a property on the very first time. So what allows you guys to follow up and nurture people in the most effective way? By knowing who they are, knowing about their kids. And when I say knowing about the kids, not just that they have kids, but what are their names? How old are they? What do they do for fun? If they bring up that their kids broke their arm, the very first conversation that you should bring up is how's little Timmy and his arm doing? The reason that they have to get out of there by 5 o'clock is because Sarah has a volleyball game. Your very first follow-up should be, how was Sarah's volleyball game? And when I say Sarah, you're keeping note of their kids' names. You're keeping note of their dogs' names. You're keeping note of every detailed piece of information you can, because follow-up is so much more effective when you can actually use the details. And they always tell you that in lead conversion, the psychology of it, what's the one name in this world that brings us the most comfort? Our own. And it's why in psychology and in sales and lead conversion, they tell you, if I'm talking to Sabrina, tell me a little bit more about what's bringing you into Irvine. Help me understand the importance of Irvine. And then when I'm wrapping up the phone call, Sabrina, what the next steps are going to be. And you just organically work somebody's name into it, which sounds so incredibly uncomfortable. And it's so weird to do when you're not used to doing it. But it's such a soft skill that will open up the dialogue more between you and Sabrina, or you and Candace, or you and Amy, because you're using their name. And the psychology of our names is it brings us warmth and it brings us comfort. So don't skip that step. Do they have animals? Yes, dude, for me, anybody who's ever cold called, I feel bad for anybody who cold calls me, because I am the shortest, most abrupt. The minute that I know it's a solicitation, I hang up. And the best ones in the world are the ones who are like, hey, Colton, how you been? And then I'm a realtor, so I have to be nice for a second. And I'm like, good. Who's this? They're like, hey, yeah, we spoke a little while back. All right, solicitation, I hang up. But the people, like, if you want me to open up and become gushy and sappy and get me to want to talk to you, you talk about my daughter. You bring up my daughter, I will talk about her for 3.5 hours, but you got to be good. You talk about dogs, you talk about pets, whatever those interests may be. When you see them light up and smile, lean into whatever that was that clearly made them warm up to you. So, but how do you create an environment that's going to allow you to build rapport? Because a lot of times you guys see what happens. I've got an appointment at 2, you're showing up at 2, the client showing up at 2, you're both racing to the door, you're trying to find the lockbox, you're like, shit, it's not on the door, hold on, maybe it's on the gas meter. And then you're running back around and it's not on the gas meter, and the sense of panic kicks in because you haven't walked through the property yet, the lights aren't turned on, it might smell like shit inside because it's been vacant and the fridge has got rotting food in it. You didn't open up the windows, you didn't walk the floor plan, you didn't look. There's a process that is going to make you guys very good at this. But it all starts with making sure that you show up 15 to 20 minutes early every single time, because you do want to make sure that you can access the property. You do want to make sure that you've already walked it. You do want to make sure that you've already walked through the property and specifically tried to identify everything that's wrong with it, because you're going to bring it up. Because the best way to build rapport with people isn't by saying, look how this, yeah, I know the freeway, I know this house backs the 405 freeway. But, you know, when you close your eyes, I've always thought that it kind of reminds me of the ocean. Like, you hear agents do dumb shit like that. And it's like, look, this is going to be something that deters people. If you want to build trust with somebody, try to talk them out of a sale. So when you walk through the property, I want you to look for dry rot. I want you to look for 3 layers of shingles on a roof that shows that the underlayment most likely has deferred maintenance and is going to be due for replacement. I want you to go see the busted AC unit that's rusted and not attached to the foundation. And when you turn it on, it's rattling to death and it makes more noise than the freaking percussion band that goes through the school. Like, there's so many ways for you to build trust with people, but it's by calling out the things that are going to protect them, not the things that you're going to try to use to sell them. So you show up early for all these reasons, but to take it a step prior, when you get there, I want you to send this text every single time. And you guys are going to sit here and you're going to shake your head and you're going to say yes. And 2% of you are actually going to do it. You say, hey, Amy, I got into the area a little bit early. I'm going to stop and grab you I'm going to stop and grab us a coffee. What can I get you? And what will end up happening? There was a girl in her office. I love her to death. She's a great agent. But she says, this doesn't work. Nobody ever says yes. And I said, it works. You're just doing it wrong. And she goes, no, I'm not. She got offended. She said, I'm doing exactly what you tell me to do. I said, open up the text. Let me see. And what she said was, hey, got into the area a little bit early. I'm going to stop and get us coffee. Can I get you anything? That is a wildly different approach than what I told you. Because when I was always raised, regardless of how thirsty I was, regardless how hungry I was, When I was offered something by one of my friend's parents, I always politely declined and said, no, ma'am, thank you so much. I was thirsty. I wanted water. I was hungry. I wanted to be fed. But I was raised for whatever reason.
Hey, Colton.
Yeah.
I use this like after the last showing partner webinar, word for word, like what can I get you versus the can I get you something? It worked. We wrote an offer and we opened escrow the next day.
Dude, and thank you, because these stories are what make people finally use it. And it's like, look, and you'll have people, and the majority of them will say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. No, the deposit was made. The deposit was received. The wow moment was created. Like, people appreciate nice gestures, and it's so incredibly easy. And again, I get it. Like, when you're a brand new agent and you aren't making any income, you're working 40, 50, 60 hours. Like, I get it. A cup of coffee can ruin you. Been there, done that. Pushed my car home from showings because I couldn't afford gas. Literally have been there. Car being parked 3 blocks away because my car was going to be repossessed and I couldn't put it in the driveway because I know they'd come take it. I've been there. I get it 100%. Go to Costco, buy some waters, go buy the 99-cent little cold coffees that they have. It's about to be hot as shit where most of us live. So have an ice chest, throw some ice in it or a cooler so you don't even have to buy ice every day. And even if they say no, hand them a bottle of water. And if you really want to get fancy, have some Capri Sun. So if they got kids, and I know people are like, well, it gets sticky. Well, fine, make them drink it outside. But I promise you, it's these tiny little gestures that will go a very long way. So before you get there, got into the area a little bit early. What can I get you? And the audacity of some of these people, because of like, hey, can I get a double, triple shot macchiato, vanilla, frappa, whatever it is that they order? And it's like, if they do that, get stoked, because I promise you, they're going to be so appreciative when you meet them and you hand it to them. And now that rush, get me to the door and get me into the house, you created an instance in that moment, a pattern interrupt that's going to slow you down and allow you to start talking about Christian, the kids, and what do you guys do for fun, and where are you coming from? Oh, we're in Ohio. Oh gosh, what brings you from Ohio? What took you to Ohio? How'd you guys meet? And you're going to start building that rapport as they sip on their coffee, because you've created an environment that's going to be more appropriate for that. We just had a story on this, and the lady asked for cake pops. She's like, I know this is going to be the strangest thing in the world, but my kids are obsessed with cake pops. That agent of ours is brilliant and takes cake pops on every single appointment. The FedEx man that used to come to my mom's office, his name was Steve. The reason I remember Steve is because my mom wouldn't shut up about Steve. Steve, my mom had an English bulldog. Steve would bring bones for Lola every single day he delivered a package. And it was the sweetest, nicest thing. And still to this day, a freaking decade later, I remember Steve, the FedEx man. These moments are received, and our job as agents is to create powerful moments. And there's a book called The Power of Moments. Please go read this book. And you got to be so incredibly intentional of trying to find these moments to create. We had a client who, and it, again, heartbreaking story with a really happy ending. She was an expired, no. We were just prospecting, circle dialing, trying to find listings. And the lady answered, we started talking, but our second phone call, she's like, hey, I got to put my plans on hold. She goes, I found out I have cancer and I got to start chemotherapy. Really fucking sad. She had kids. You could hear her breaking up as she told me. It was heartbreaking. And so I Googled, I'm like, what can I get somebody who's going through this? And I found a little gift. I sent it to her house with a little note that I Googled on what to say, because I had no freaking idea, because I felt bad. I had no idea what you're supposed to do or what's appropriate. Anytime I checked in on her and followed up, I never asked anything about real estate. I would just check in on her. Hey, I hope your treatments are going well. I'm here whenever you need me, blah, 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 blah. Didn't push anything. Got a call 8 months later. No callbacks. I really didn't push it that hard. I just sent her the treats that I sent for her and the kids with the note. And she called me back and she cried as she thanked me for the stupid treats that we sent her. And it's like, look for opportunities, not because you're being salesy, not because you're trying to be an asshole and you're trying to steal a sale, but because when you can make other people feel good, they remember you. And the whole, okay, go ahead. If you ever have any questions, save my number and let me know if you ever need me. They've never saved your number. They've never called you back after you've said that. But when you can just look for the opportunities to create powerful moments, which is what this entire book is designed around, you guys, it will have such a profound impact on the impact that you have on other people's lives, but equally as important, on the impact that you're going to have on your business because you're genuinely caring about people. You're making them feel special. You're making them feel respected, heard, and understood. And when you do that, your job becomes exponentially easier. Okay, so we do the coffee invite. You guys show up 15 minutes early. You've done a good job. You've already walked the floor plan. You've looked for everything that you need to call to these people attention that sucks about this house, because you will bring it up to them. We don't try to hide it because it is very seldom that you're ever going to sell that particular home. So when we go them, we've gone through the property. We've already seen everything about it. When you get there, you're going to show up with their coffee. If they said they don't want a coffee, you're going to show up with a bottle of water anyway, just because you're being friendly. They will accept it. It's hot outside. And when we start looking at properties, we know how uncomfortable it gets, especially if you're where I was from in Vegas. So when we start showing them the property, hey, you're going to take control of it. We don't just walk in the house. You're going to hand them the coffee. You're going to build the rapport. You're going to talk about the kids, what brings them into the area, how everybody's going to be different. And this is where it's hard for an agent, especially if you're new. Being conversational shouldn't be that difficult for any of us, but for me, it is. I really have to work at it. I'm an introvert by nature. I don't like talking to people. It makes me wildly uncomfortable. I have to force myself. And in my head, I have such bad attention deficit disorder. I'm thinking squirrel on every single, like I have to focus so hard to pay attention. So you got to be intentional. And for me, it wasn't a natural skill. It was something that I had to develop. But when we're talking to these people and you do it through the coffee, I want you to take control and you say, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm not a helicopter parent. So feel free, take a look around. I'm going to be within earshot's distance. So if you have any questions, I'm definitely available, but I'm going to be walking around, taking note of things that we might need to bring to the inspector's attention in the event that this is a house that you want to move forward with. And the reason that I say this is because, guys, we always do the thing where we're chasing them around the house. We're like, here's the kitchen and this is they know the freaking sink and the dishwasher gave it away. They didn't need you and your Vanna Whiting to tell them that this is the kitchen or the bedroom. Yes, you do definitely want to know what are the real value propositions of this house. What can I not see that I need to bring to their attention? Is this 1940s house? Has it been rewired? Is there new plumbing, dual pane windows? When was the roof last done? When was the HVAC and the furnace complete? Like, guys, we want to have all of those questions already answered. And I'm going to share with you guys a thing that we use called our high note. And our high note truly is there for our clients, but honestly, it's really there to force our agents to do the things that they need to be doing to ensure that they're prepared for the appointment. Because the things that are valuable is not that you knew what the kitchen was. Congratulations, we all do. But the things that are really valuable is, do you have the ability to provide them information that's going to change their opinion on the market? Because right now we're dealing with this, and thankfully it's going to start changing. But consumers right now, a lot of buyers still think it's a buyer's market and that they're going to be able to kick the seller's ass. That's not true in our market. Our inventory, our market shifted so rapidly, and we'll call buyers stupid and call them unrealistic. But guys, the market went from scorching hot to ice cold to warming back up. And oh my God, everything's falling apart to scorching hot again. And now it's a seller's market. They're going through whiplash with these changes. And if you don't have the ability to articulate the market in a digestible way that's easy for them to understand, you're failing on magnifying yourself to a client. Because if somebody says, hey, you know, kind of what's going on with the market, and you go, oh my God, it's insane, it's on fire. Cool. Okay, what does that tell the client? But if you can tell them, you know, we've seen inventory, we've got only about a 0.9 month supply of inventory. Days on market right now on an average are only about 16 days. Homes are selling for about 103% to ask price. Like, when we can go break down the actual statistics that are going to help them understand the market, now you're presenting yourself as a professional, and now you're somebody who can keep them protected. And I told this story one time about my cousin, and it's a stupid story, but my cousin went into this, my sister's boyfriend put his hands on her, and I was a little kid. I think I was in middle school. And he was in high school. He was a lot bigger than me. He could have kicked my ass, but he put his hands on my sister, and I was so freaking mad and I was so upset. And I remember I was shaking because I knew I was about to get my ass kicked. And then my cousin called me. My cousin Brandon, who's a beast of a man, who's never been beaten up by anybody, who's a protector of our entire family, said, hey man, don't worry about it. I'm going to go with you. And I felt confident in that. And I felt comfortable because it was a scary situation, but with his protection, I knew I was going to be okay. And you guys, this market is scary as shit for people. And if they're going into it with the leadership of somebody who doesn't make them feel protected, who doesn't feel that they can navigate them through the challenges that this market is going to throw, you're losing a lot of conversion and you're losing a lot of clients. Because if you can articulate the market and help them understand it and make them feel protected and explicitly show them how it is that you're going to accomplish that, they'll be a lot more at ease with where the market's going. They'll be a lot more at ease with the decisions because they know they have somebody who's looking out for their best interests. So I'll share with you guys some of those market statistics and the materials that we show up with. So Christian, I'm not a helicopter parent. Feel free to take a look around. I'll be within an earshot distance in case you guys have any questions. I'll be taking note of things that in case this is a house that you wanted to move forward with, I'm going to be taking note of things that we might need to bring to the inspector's attention. When you're done, meet me back in the kitchen so we can discuss everything that you loved and hated about the home. And the reason that we're doing this is you guys are going to take control of the showing and you're setting the stage for what the client needs to expect. Because it happens all the time. You leave the door open, the clients walk in and out of the house. Some of them, and a lot of them, will start walking their way towards the door and you're like, hey, what'd you guys think? They're like, oh, well, we liked it. Okay, but we got to go home and we got to think about it. They hop in the minivan, they take off, and you never hear from them again. So you need to set the stage for what to expect. Meet me back in the kitchen and we're going to discuss everything you loved and hated about it. Then you're going to get them to the kitchen. And what you'll see, the people will just be sitting there waiting for you in the kitchen. If you took control of it and you told them what to do. Now you go in there and you make a joke. Hey guys, just because you see them do it all the time. They're whispering to their spouse, they're talking to each other, and they don't want you to be offended. Like, guys, I don't own this house. I'm not even a listing agent. I don't represent it. I didn't build it. I don't care if you hate this house, but you got to let them know that. So I'll always make a quick joke. Hey guys, I didn't build this house. I don't own it. I want to know your honest feedback, because the more accurately I can understand what it is you're looking for, the better ability I'm going to have to bring you some off-market options. And be subtle, the more ability I'm going to have to bring you off-market options, because we want to plant the seed with what's going to make you valuable. And in this market, what is unbelievably valuable to a consumer? Off markets. So we need to be doing everything possible to let them know that that's an option that you have to provide them. So when you ask them, you don't say, what'd you think? Because people are going to be nice. Well, we liked it. They could have hated it. We liked it. It happens all the time. I had the worst meal ever the other day with my director of ops. We're on our way home. It was the most horrible meal. As I was done complaining about my meal, the waiter came up and goes, how is everything? Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Because I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be rude. You got to give people permission to tell the truth. So walk in. I didn't build it. On a scale 1 to 10, how close is this to what you're looking for? And the reason that we want to do the 1 to 10 is it gives them the ability and it gives them permission to give a more accurate answer. And if it's somebody who's a 6 or a 5, got it. Okay, so this one definitely isn't the one for you. Help me better understand, what would it take to make it a 10? And then they can start telling you that they're looking for more square footage. They can tell you that they're looking for, they need an extra bedroom. They can tell you that they would want a better view, or they don't want the houses to be so close together. Because again, guys, over 47% of your conversions are going to happen after 6 months of you initially meeting with them. Almost half of the conversions that we do happen in the second half of the year and beyond that. Hey, I got into the area a little bit early. I'm going to stop and grab us a coffee. What can I get you? And that's all you ask. So on a scale 1 to 10, how close is it to what you're looking for? And then when you say, what would it take to make it a 10? You get to find out everything they didn't like about it. And it gives them permission to tell you everything that they're looking for. Because the things that we need to identify is what people are looking for, because when we know, we have the ability to more specifically look for them. But keep in mind, the entire point of this meeting, the entire point of the first appointment, you have one goal of this entire thing. I am going to set the second appointment on the first appointment. Every single appointment you go on ends in a contract being signed, or it ends with another appointment being set. Because when you can tie yourself to the next event and you do it consistently enough with every single client that you guys meet for the next 10 years, I promise you the disproportionate success you will have in comparison to people not following this process will be absurdly higher. So what is that second appointment? Sometimes it's a consumer who's terrified about interest rates and affordability. And we say, have you had the opportunity to speak to a lender yet? Or is that something I can help you with? You never say, are you pre-approved? Don't ask that. Have you had the opportunity to speak to a lender, or is that something I can help you with? Because if we can, and whatever their answers are, you're going to have the ability to dive deeper and to provide more value. Because what is one thing that we as agents know about lenders? If you guys see Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, any of the big credit unions, you know they don't give a shit if something goes south, and they will bury their heads in sand like ostrich when something doesn't go right, and they'll destroy your deal. A bad lender, we know, is one of the most detrimental pieces to a deal. And then in addition to that, a lender who doesn't have the ability to work with breakneck speeds, and the lenders who can't close in 12 days, and the lenders who can't allow you to do a full contingency removal in 5, is dramatically impacting the success of your client in the offer strategy. So it's like, well, that we're not going to go into that class. We're just going to talk about showing homes. But this is a huge important piece to it. And when you can articulate the importance of that, you can get them to forget about the $15 difference at the interest rate for the faster lender might cost them, because it will make or break their ability to get their offer accepted. Or if it's somebody who's talking about inventory and there's no homes available, which we all know is a pain point for everybody, you can talk about your buyer concierge service that you have that specifically will reach out to neighbors who own homes specifically like what you're looking for that aren't yet on the market. So homes that otherwise without you, they wouldn't have the ability. And you can tell a story, because every part of this should involve you telling a story about how you made somebody successful with it. And it's like, well, what if I don't have the story? Make one up. Find a success story that I'm about to tell you. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, really quick question, Colton. So regarding the big banks, and we know that you had a script that was like, if they say yes, like, oh yeah, actually I'm all set on the lending side. And
Yeah.
then you had a follow-up script to that. What was it?
Yeah. So, and thank you for that. Because if you say who you pre-approved with, and then you go Bank of America and you're like, oh shit, hey, look, listen, Bank of America, they suck. They're not good. They take forever to close. They're now going to think you're just trying to pull it from their lender and give it to yours. People think that you get kickbacks. People already don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. You're a slimy salesperson. So when we do it like that, you're going to get more kickback. But what we'll do is immediately handle the objection before we even know who the bank is. You've been pre-approved, fantastic. Just so you know, if you're using Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Loan Depot, Rocket Mortgage, any of the big credit unions, any of the big banks, I'm really going to need you to get in touch with it for a second opinion, because those lenders oftentimes will automatically result in a rejection. But you guys, if you submit offers with us, with Bank of America, I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they are not the ones who do that loan. And we have local lenders who are atrocious that I will not deal with. And I'll tell the listing agent, I'm not mean and I don't screw them. Hey, we have the worst track record with this lender. This lender is absolutely going to affect our decision. I would strongly recommend that you give your client the option to get a second opinion from a lender who we trust to get the job done. So it's like when you say, hey, just so you know, if it's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, Citi, whoever your problem children are in your guys' market, that's you're going to say, if that's who you're using, we're really going to want you to get a second opinion, because those lenders oftentimes will result in your offer being rejected. Now you'll hear them go, oh shit, really? Okay, yeah, let's do that. But it's when you do it in the opposite, to where you say, who is it? They tell you, and now you try to pull it, you're going to get a lot more kickback. So when you handle it that way up front, it creates a way easier transition to get to the result that you're looking for, which is a lender who you know, like, and trust, that will move mountains when things go south, who will communicate with you when things go south so that you can keep the train on the tracks. And it's like right now, we know more than anything in our office, I want to be able to offer for whether it's vacant or it's occupied. Vacant, of course, immediate close of escrow, fast as hell. We're going to do, and then if it's occupied, everybody still wants their money right away. Close in 12 days, give them a free 30-day rent back. But it's like, if I'm not working with a lender who has the ability to perform that quickly, I can't offer that strategy in our contract and our negotiation, because I know most lenders don't have the ability to perform that quickly. So it's a really important piece of this. So the one thing that I'll say about that, Peter, when a lender can't beat rate, I don't care about rate. At the end of the day, look at the monthly payment. And most of the time, the difference in the payment, we're talking 15, 16, 18 bucks a month. And if I'm going to save 30 bucks a month, or even maybe 40 with Bank of America, but they're going to take 30 days to close, and they need 21 days to get the appraisal back, and they need 21 days to get the loan approved, I will pay an extra 40 bucks a month, because I know I'm going to submit offer after offer after offer, and I'm lose my dream home after dream home after dream home, because I have a lender who can't perform fast enough in a way that's going to be competitive in this market. I'll pay more for faster service and a more guaranteed likelihood of getting my offer accepted. I don't care, but you always got to break it down to what the monthly payment is. And then most importantly, of course, break it down on costs. But again, that's not what this class is for. Feel free if you guys at the end want to ask more questions on that, I'll do it. But out of respect for your guys' time, I want to make sure we stick to showings. So when we meet with them on a scale 1 to 10, how close is this to what you're looking for? And they go, it's like a 6. Got it. So this isn't one for you. Help me better understand what would it take to make it a 10. And when you do that, and then they'll say, well, it needed this and this and this. And hopefully you've already done your due diligence and you've already plugged in the numbers and the data and the materials that I'm going to show you here in a minute. And you've already gone and done your research to find all the comparable properties that this client would potentially be wanting to take a look at. And this is the piece that I'm going to tell you, and you'll see a lot of people shake their head and say yes, but I'm telling you nobody does it, is you go assumptively set an appointment, assuming that they want to go take a look at it. And you tell them, hey, I know this property is not available. However, this one is. I did have an appointment to go take a look at this. If you have time, we can run over to that house now and take a look. And a lot of times they'll say no. And what you'll do, and what I strongly recommend, is even when they say no, it's okay, maybe we'll reschedule it, you immediately go to that house, you record and take a video, or you offer to do a FaceTime tour with them. William, one of my production partner, he's the one that showed me this. I used to send videos like 30 seconds at a time because it was too big to text. He uploads it to YouTube. He shares them the YouTube link. He does the entire video. It's not cut up. It's a brilliant way to do it. So even when somebody says, no, I can't go take a look, go create that wow moment and do something different than what everybody else is doing. Go show them, take the extra step, show them that you're attentive, show them that you're on top of it, and you'll get a lot more people to want to work with you. Okay, so at the end, our whole goal is to get them to a secondary appointment. So you can say, hey, and this is where my agents sometimes, and now we're getting back into this inventory where I'll get kickback, and I totally get it. But it's like, hey, Christian, I know this house isn't what we're looking for. I did show a house that was probably like a quarter mile from here last week. I don't know if that home's still available, but if it is, it had X, Y, and Z of what you were looking for. If that home's still available, would you have time to take a look at that tomorrow after work? If you looked at it after work, say tomorrow after work. If it's a Saturday, say tomorrow morning. Like, try to position yourself in the schedule that you already know works for them. If that home's still available, would you be interested in taking a look? And if you can get them to say yes, immediately go plug it into your calendar, send them the invite, block off the time, and now go try to find a property that fits just like that. And I get it, we're back in an inventory where inventory sucks. So you can call them, Christian, I'm so sorry, that house did end up selling. However, here's X, Y, and Z that do fit that similar criteria. Let's go take a look at these ones instead. The entire point is we need to navigate people into a secondary appointment. Does everybody know what every single buyer, the top 2 fears of your buyers are? It's fear of missing out on something and fear of overpaying. So if you can automatically start answering to what those fears and those concerns are, and you can talk about, and however you guys do it, Showami, by the way, is a really great service that can help you guys out to show properties. It's like an Uber for showing agents. And it's like, if you have a client, you can hit Showami and say, hey, can I go take a look at this property in Long Beach tomorrow? If it's not available, click Showami, say, hey, I'm not there, I'm not available, I'm actually on another showing, but one of my partners is in the area, they can get you into that property immediately. That is a value proposition, because how many times are clients missing out on properties because their agent's lack of availability? Happens all the time, but clients don't know that's a thing. So we need to instill that, not fear, but that reality into the process. So when you can use Showami and you can tell them, hey, I've got a team of agents who are always available. You will never miss a showing due to my unavailability. We'll always be available. We'll always be able to accommodate showings within an hour's notice. And it's like, when you do that, and I have agents who are like, well, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Download Showami. And I promise you, you will be able to accommodate any showing that's available within an hour's notice. It's an amazing system. I think it costs $39 per showing. Somebody just say, I love Showami. They'll go meet inspectors. You guys, it's such a great service. Absolutely use it. And it will save you a ton of time and a ton of money. If this is by far one of the most underutilized tools in a realtor's tool chest, you guys do not use buyer consultations and strategy sessions in an effective way. And I make it very clear to people, hey, has anybody taken the time to show you what it takes to be successful in this market? Because you guys, one thing consumers within a month are going to be knowing is, hey, there's no inventory. I got to be more competitive. You could play checkers back in December and end up dumb shitting your way into an accepted offer. Today, you got to know how to play chess with the terms of the contract. You need to be strategic. You need to have a strategy, and you need to be able to articulately explain that to the client. But what I hear agents do all the time is they're trying to explain this strategy while they're trying to look at the damn house. It's like, that's not the environment to try to educate somebody. Yes, if that's the only option, it's the only thing you can do, fine, do an island consultation or a driveway consultation, but you need to create an environment that's actually going to be appropriate for an education. And I would make it very clear, Christian, I am not going to talk about colors of paint. I'm not even going to be really talking about neighborhoods, not going to be talking about flooring. I'm going to be showing you the specific strategies that we're employing with our client, that we're deploying with our clients right now to help them be more successful in a market. Like right now, and no numbers, the average agent back in like 2021 was submitting 27 offers to get one offer accepted. Our clients, because we track it, we're submitting 2.6. 27 offers, 27 missed opportunities. Our clients were submitting 2.6. I'd love to sit you down and walk you through the process that we're using to find that type of success for our buyers like you. And it's like, when would you have 15 to 20 minutes to sit down? You can do it in a coffee shop. You can do it in their living room. Ideally, get them to come to your office to do a consultation. Do it on Zoom. And I'll show you guys our buyer strategy flip book. I'll share my screen so you can actually see it. You guys can steal it, copy it, make it yours. So we've got our flip book, go copy it. And it talks about how the team will always outperform the individual. We walk them through, we break down the process into 4 different phases: the preparation phase, the home search phase, the offer and negotiation phase, the contract to close phase. And you guys, this is all going to be a memory jogger for you to talk about the important shit that you all know you're good at. We're not going to talk about paint color or any of that stuff. Talks about buyer's agent versus a listing agent, big banks versus local lenders, gives you the ability to articulate the differences, the do's and don'ts of getting a mortgage. Don't go buy a house. Don't buy another car. Don't go put a bunch of credit card debt. Buyer typical fees, seller typical fees. Guys, half the time your clients start writing out a check or a credit card, the first time that they're figuring out what they have to pay for is when they're getting an invoice to pay for it. If that's happening, and if your clients are shocked over the fees and the costs that they're paying during the process, you as their agent failed. How to navigate our page, how you can save them as an agent on Zillow. This is a really good step to intercept your client requesting showings from other agents. So when you meet with them at the strategy session, make them pull up your Zillow page, make them choose you as their agent. So anytime they request properties, it immediately goes to you. All tiny little skills that are going to help save your clients from talking to a different agent. Saving homes on our website, how you do it. New construction, don't you ever walk into a new construction home without me. If you do, they won't allow me to protect you and to keep you represented by an actual buyer's agent. This, we walk through escalation clauses, how escalation clauses work. This page, you guys, they're going to think you're a genius because you're going to show them an offer strategy. This shit's simple. Some markets, it's illegal. A bunch of you California realtors tell me it is, and it is not illegal. It 100% is a legal part of a contract. But it just kind of walks you through all the important steps of buying and selling a home, condos. And then I walk through our timeframes, typical timeframes of a contract, typical timeframes for a close of escrow, our shortened timeframes, how we accomplish it within the same amount of time, but maintain the same protections. But it just goes through all of that stuff. Feel free to rip it off. You guys got to be setting up strategy sessions so you can keep people educated, so you can give them, you're creating the environment to separate yourself from the Vanna Whites. Because the Vanna Whites, by the time they talk about offer strategy, they're talking about it because I showed it home to Christian. Christian goes, dude, we absolutely love this house. We got to write an offer. Are you pre-approved yet? Oh, no, we haven't talked to a lender yet. Shit, now we got to scramble. We got to go put that together. Hey, Christian, let's talk about offer strategy. And now I'm telling Christian that he's got to submit 5-6% over ask price. He's going to have to waive his appraisal contingency. He's going to have to waive his loan contingency. But don't worry, I'm going to get all that done within the inspection period because if you get out, dude, you're going to hit him with so much information that it's going to cause panic. It's going to cause frustration. It's going to be stressful. If you can't slow your client down to prepare them for what's to come so that they're prepared to, when they do put pen to paper, that they fully understand the contract, they fully understand the terms, they fully understand the strategy, they understand how you're going to maintain the protections of a full contingency offer, but we're only going to offer an inspection contingency. We're going to waive the loan. Like, you got to create an environment to prepare them for that. And you tell them, Christian, the last thing that I want is for you to become emotionally attached to a property. And then we discuss strategy. And then we discuss how you're going to win. Because I want to make sure you are making informed and educated decisions. And I want to ensure you understand how I'm going to keep you protected through the process. In order for me to do that, I need to slow you down on the front end to prepare you for what it takes to be a successful buyer in this market. Does that make sense? And then they'll say, yes, fantastic. When would you be available to sit down? Like whenever you go for a close, tell the story and say, does that make sense? Get them to confirm, yes, this makes sense. Awesome. The next step is for us to set aside 20 to 30 minutes so I can walk you through exactly how I'm going to help you guys win in this market. Because we can all agree in this limited inventory market, guys, we do need a competitive advantage to win. 99% of the dipshits out there with a license are not giving their clients any competitive advantage. They're not keeping clients protected, and the clients are having to make impulse decisions because the realtor failed to slow them down and prepare them for what was to come. You guys got to utilize this strategy session to get more people to sit down so they can be prepared to win. Otherwise, you're going to go spend all summer showing properties to buyers who are going to write low offers that aren't going to get accepted because you failed to prepare them how to be successful. This is good for you. It's good for them. It's good for everybody. So this is our high note. This is all the materials that we put in here. We've got our Orange County market report. It's going to have all the data. And of course, is it going to work? We've got the Orange County housing report. It shows where demand's going. It's showing where days on market are going. It's showing the expected market time. It's comparing previous time periods. It talks about how low listing inventory is going because people believe what they see. They do not believe what they hear. So when you can show them data and you can show them statistics, that's going to help prove your point to help them understand the temperature of the market. You're going to be a far more successful. Community market report, the CMA has already been completed. The reason that we have this in here is because you have to have the comps in the CMA already prepared so you can discuss it with the client. The neighborhood schools have already been built into here. Our buyer guide has been built in here. You guys can steal that and make it your own. The introduction to our team, our client reviews, the escrow process, our Google reviews, meet the team, the McClure Group Advantage. All of these materials are here for you to be able to present to the client when you meet with them. And again, you got to bring attention to these high notes. It's called highnote.io is where you get the system. If you're on my team, you already have access to this stuff. Guys, just show up prepared, have the answers, take the extra 15 minutes to save yourself months of heartache and months of disappointment, create happy clients. Read this book, The Power of Moments. Look for every single opportunity you can to create a powerful moment, because even when you guys do these soft little skills, I promise you, even though they won't say yes to the coffee every single time, those invites, and I get my agent sending screenshots all the time. Hey, thank you so much for offering the coffee. That was so sweet of you. And it just works. But I know agents who will sit here and shake their head and then never send it. And it's just absolutely idiotic.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
So when and how do you usually get your agency agreement signed?
Honestly, we don't. If I do, the only time that I'll ever get somebody to sign an agency agreement is if we use our buyer concierge service. I've never done them. I know it's not the best practice. I've just always told people, look, at any given point in time, if I'm not performing the way that I've told you I'm going to perform for you, you reserve the right to use whoever you want. The only thing I ask for is loyalty. I'm going to work my ass off for you. And the only time that I'll ever make somebody sign is if I actually use our buyer concierge service, because at that point I'm paying for the mailings to go out to the off markets to fit that similar criteria. But the best practice to getting the strategy session is at the end of that, or excuse me, the loyalty agreement is at the end of the strategy session, because then you commit to working with one another. You open up the packet, you flip it open, and we'll go ahead and sign here to get me working for you to find you the perfect home. There's a strat, and I know I could get it. I just have never needed them. I've never wanted to do it.
You don't need one for like offers or anything?
No, not here. And again, that's very state specific. Where we live, you do not have to do them. They're not very common. My buddy, Mike Novak, he does not require them in their state either, but he gets it every single time. And he does it right after the strategy session. And it even says on the last page what the next steps are. The next steps are I answer any unaddressed questions. And the next steps are we commit to working with one another. In the agreement that he has them signed, because none of them are enforceable, is it basically just states you can cancel this agreement at any given point in time within a 24-hour notice.
So what do we do if we are using Showami or some other agent to show our properties, like for them not to steal our client? It just recently happened to me.
I've never heard of that. I've only heard great positive feedback from it.
Not Showami, not Showami. It was an agent that I knew.
You used a friend.
Yeah. Yes.
Showami is contractually prohibited from stealing your clients.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's such a great service, and don't ever use it for the first showing. But if you got a
Okay.
client and they're like, hey, I want to go look at a home in Long Beach and I doesn't want to go to Long Beach because I want to go hang out with my daughter. Hey guys, I have an appointment at that time, but one of my partner agents will be in the area. They can open up the door for you. And within an hour's notice, you can have somebody at that property, pay $38, save yourself the gas, save yourself the interrupted weekend with your family and your kids. And then you contact them as soon as they're done and say, hey, what do you think of the house? Do you have any questions? And hopefully have some options to secure the next appointment.
So you do your first showing, you meet them, you do your report, etc. And then you, for your strategy appointment, that's like the same thing as a buyer's consultation, it sounds like to me.
Yep. Same
Do
thing.
you schedule that for a different day? You don't do that during your first showing?
I don't like it because one, they're not prepared for it. Two, it's not going to be a comfortable environment for it. Like I want to create the environment that's appropriate for us sitting down and preparing them. And people don't want to do it. Like they have no interest. And that's where you got to be a great storyteller. Listen, the pace of the market right now and the limited inventory that we're seeing, I'm seeing so many buyers skip this step and not prepare themselves to be successful. They wait to find the perfect property and their lack of preparation results in them missing the perfect home. I'm not
Mhm.
doing my job unless I prevent that from happening to you. So what we need to do is slow you down on the front end, prepare you for what it takes to be a successful buyer. And then you can talk to them. And again, you get them to confirm. It's like the last thing in the world that I want to happen is you miss out on a dream home because I failed to prepare you. Does that make sense? And then pause.
Yeah.
Wait for them to say yes, because they will. Fantastic. The next steps would be for us to set up a strategy session. When would be the best time for you to do that?
And where do you usually do them at?
I like doing them in the office. If they don't have the ability, I'm a little bit more lazy than what I used to be. I don't want to drive and sit in their living room with their cat crawling all over me. So if I have to, I'll do it on a Zoom consultation. But if I would try to get face to face with people, a Zoom consultation is also more than fine. Like where we live, even though it's 5 miles away at the wrong time could take 2 hours to get there. So people are totally fine meeting on a Zoom.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody
Cool.
else?
I guess, yeah. So Colton, you push more so for the appointment, for going over the buyer consultation than you do for like a second showing appointment.
You got to do kind of sometimes a mixture of both, because it's like, I'm going to talk to Kyle. Kyle might, if you try to get me to go sit with you in an office, you're going to fail. I'm not going to do it until you do a good enough job and you plant that seed enough times to make me finally understand the importance of it. Because my dumb ass is only focused on going and looking at houses. But Kyle's going to plant that seed. He's going to try to turn that ship. But sometimes it takes a lot of effort and multiple deposits and multiple stories to finally get him to realize, hey, I need to do this. And then when Kyle failed to get me to sit down, but he prepared me that whole time, when I finally get bitch slapped because the market's so aggressive, he can say, hey, I told you, dummy, this was going to happen. We need to sit down and you need to be prepared for this process. So you don't lose your family the next dream home. Make sense? And then I say, yeah, you're right. And again, sorry for the way I talk, but literally I hear clients all the time, like agents all the time, allowing the market to teach them their lesson. And guys, if you're not preparing them for that lesson that's going to come, they're going to ghost you. You're going to be like, well, they just ghosted me. No, they were pissed because you didn't prepare them for what happened. And they are going to blame you because it's your job as a professional to be able to help them understand the importance of slowing down and preparing for the process.
Okay, makes sense.
If you can't get the consultation and you can tell they have zero interest, don't push it. Tell the story. Hey, totally understand. Maybe something later on down the road. Would you be interested in going and taking a look at that property tomorrow after work? Secure it then and make the attempt again, because the rapport will be better built. There's going to be a little bit more trust. And sometimes it'll take 2-3 appointments before you finally secure that consultation. All right.
Great. Thanks, Colton.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one.